have the hot stuff in town. Big shots to fool me around. You can give me anything you've got. Big sack of potatoes and worth a lot. No. Grab my distance at a sand. Stole from a cuckoo's nest. Give me anything you've got. Ain't got no money in my bank account. And I'm so you have the hottest stuff in town. Big shots to fool me around. Give me anything you've got. Ain't got no money in my bank account. And I'm why don't you buy my thing? Why don't you buy my thing? Yeah. Why don't you buy my thing? Big doors down the range. Oh yeah. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. No, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. No, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Why don't you buy my thing? Why don't you buy my thing? Yeah. Why don't you buy my thing? Because down the range. Oh yeah. So you have the hot stuff in town. Big shots to fool me around. Give me anything you've got. Ain't got no money in my bank account. And I
Hey guys, what's up? James Brown? No, it wasn't James Brown. It was the Limbos, Spanish group from Madrid. A second. Hey Kudo, what's up? I have too many windows opened. How you doing? Fine, thanks. It's been a great day so far. Very complete day. Very active I was. Yeah. Time to keep working because we have to see some opening theory here. I'm ready for rook d6. Maybe you mean rook d7. Huh. If it's rook d7, I understand. If it's rook d6, I'm not sure what you mean. Aha, rook d7. Okay, you're ready for that. But we're gonna have some opening theory here, so I don't think we're gonna get to rook d7. Trompowsky. Okay. Okay, guys. First things first. If anyone is watching Joanna's stream, like you, Chescudo, I think you were there. Please go there. Have fun. Especially now that she's making a tournament, I think. Hopefully we can have a good session here and it's gonna be recorded so you can watch it later. But I don't expect an opening theory stream to be as fun. Opening theory from yeah, okay, so we had this poll somewhere. Let's see if I find the link. You will have both open. Okay, but you joined the tournament. I cannot because yeah, I cannot. Mm, mm, mm. How is this poll maker results? What should we do? I think this was it. No, this is the one the other day. So now I need to find the poll from today, which I'm sure I will be able to find. Yeah, I have a logout here, so I can look at my polls somewhere. Where are my polls? My polls. Surveys. It's the first time. Oh, polls one. First time I opened this. Topic for the next stream. Okay. So I wanted to show you the results. Yeah, what I learned from this is I learned several things. First of all, I shouldn't add so many options. King's Indian attack versus the French. Okay, that's a good one. Well, opening theory from 0 to hero has been selected. So what I will be trying to do is to start with the basics, with the most basics. Like for someone who never studied openings, and go from there, take it from there. I will try to answer questions like, what is an opening? What is opening theory, for example? How to study opening theory. Maybe we talk about opening traps. Maybe we can talk about a specific opening, but I would prefer to focus on principles and things that we can see in one session than focusing a lot in a specific opening. Yarnivek, hey, that's me, somebody who has never studied openings. Yes, great. I want to make this for all people. So that's what we're going to see. Now, I learned some things about the poll. First of all, I shouldn't add so many options. So for the next poll, I'm going to add less choices. Secondly, it's important to see what other people voted for, like Galician fun facts, Spanish lesson, and geography quizzes. So my next streams could maybe go along those lines. Yeah, because it's hard to get people involved in in polls. Maybe I just take this one as a roadmap for the next streams during this week. I don't know. We'll see. Well, very interesting everything here, but okay. Let's start with the openings then. Okay, so Jarnivek says somebody who has never studied openings. Okay, I want people to be interactive if possible in chat. So maybe people like you, Jarnivek, can just guide the session maybe with your questions. I will try to start with the basics, but interrupting me anytime. All right. Maybe viewer game analysis would be an interesting option. Yeah, also that. I thought about adding even more options to the poll, but I have to stop at some point. And I tried to add the most non-chess related possible ones, but okay, in the end. Hey Candela, what's up? Like the title? Nice. Okay, let's go there. What do we start with? Well, I'm going to go through the session as if I'm speaking to one person that never ever studied openings at all. Like, this person doesn't even know what opening theory means at all. So let's start with that. I assume all of you know the rules of chess. Let's start with something that you may or may not know about Lichess, is that in Lichess you have a database. I think we can start there. Learn, I just need to find it. Tools, Opening Explorer, yeah, I think we will start there. So in Tools, the last menu, Opening Explorer, one thing about chess is very ancient game. It's a very old game. The other day I asked a student, do you know how many do you know how old chess is? And this is an 8-year-old boy, and he was like, let me think. Chess didn't exist when my father was born, so let's say 30. Okay, he was based on a wrong assumption, of course. Chess is slightly older than that. And the thing with openings, with the first moves of the game, that's what we call opening, right? The first moves of the game. The thing with that is they're always the same. Like we start with this, probably, most of us start with this move. Some other people start with this move. Hey, Karmar. Some other people start with knight f3. There's also c4, g3, g4, b3, b4. We know that, right? But here, in the Opening Explorer on Lichess, we have access to a database. This is the database of all known games, and yeah, because chess is too old, many people have played those moves already. And we can see from the database here, we have the index of moves. Like in this starting position, we have e4 is the top move, d4 is the next one, knight f3, c4, g3, and we have the number of games. So e4 was played in 960,000 games in this database. And this database covers, of course, all important games of well-known players. So in this database you will not find one game by me, but you will find games by the likes of Carlsen, the likes of Caruana, Giri, etc. Or even, why not, Fischer, Spassky, even Morphy. So games from old, strong people are also in the database. Games for Karmar, maybe. Anyway, what we have here in this database is the essence of opening theory. When you have any opening position, and this is the first one, the starting position, you can see, just because of what the database tells, what is the most popular choice between strong players. And you can see e4 is the most popular choice, followed by d4 very closely. So we can tell those are the two main moves. Knight f3, 200,000 games, also very, very played. But this is knowledge from experience of stronger people. This is what opening theory is. We play these moves because people who are stronger than us have played it a lot. So that means they're good moves. So let's go through a line, for example. e4 is what everyone should play. No, it's what I play. And here we have all the options that black has. c5, e5, e6, c6, d6, g6, d5, knight f6, a lot of them. And it scrolls down because there are a lot of games, of course. And we have also top games here, top games of strong people. Kiyo, ¿qué pasa? Hey! Thanks. Okay, we're with the very basics. We're the very basics, just explaining what opening theory is. So the most popular choice against e4 in the database is c5. Let's go there. The most popular choice against that is knight f3, then d6. I'm gonna click the main move all the time through some moves to reach, let's say, for example, this position a6, which, as you know, is the Najdorf, right? I should have the name somewhere. Ah, yeah, we have it there. So I think that this database also included all played games in Lichess. I don't think so, Candela, because then the number would have to be higher, right? The total number of games. I'm not sure. Not only top players. I cannot believe there's only 1 million games with e4 in the database if it contains all the games played on lichess. There's a switch between master. Aha, that makes sense. Maybe there's two opening books. Okay, that makes sense. Let me try to find that switch. Exactly, masters and lichess. Okay, so let me go back to the first move here. So we had almost 1 million games with e4. This is only strong people. If we click here lichess or ratings, okay, we have 36 million games with e4. So okay, that makes more sense. And also the results, well, we didn't talk about these bars here, but now we see very few draws when we take all the players on lichess, because of course in lichess everyone plays blitz chess, draws are less frequent than in classical master games, of course. Okay, to me, this might be useful. This, looking at all the games might be useful, maybe for popularity purposes. But I think if you want to study openings, you should rely on people stronger than you. You should rely on masters, experience better. Okay, let's talk about these bars. This means that from these almost 1 million games, 33% were white victories, 42% were draws, and 25% of those games were victories for black, and so forth, so on. So sometimes if you're preparing a line, you're in a position like this after a6, you want to find interesting moves, like you don't know what to play in this position. You might choose one that has a good score for white, even though it's not a common option. For example, this rook g1, it's very uncommon option, only 200 games, 277 compared to the main lines is very rare, but it has a much better score for white. Why is that? Well, it's rare, so if you prepare it and your opponent doesn't know it, you have more chances to get a result. So that's how you prepare opening surprises, right? Anyway, I went very fast, very deep there, I think. Let's go back to stating what opening theory is. Why would you study these moves? And I think yeah, the easiest thing to put it is you can solve things, you can take decisions over the board, or you can take decisions out of the board. And the most decisions you take before the game, the more time you will have for making decisions over the board. So maybe I'm confusing, but if you know an opening by memory, for example, let's take a not so common opening, knight f6. Let's say you play against knight f6, and you say, oh, I know that's the Alekhine. I know you should play e5 here. Then you play e5. You take 1 second in playing e5. If you don't know it, you need to solve it over the board. You need to think, what is this move? Why is he threatening my pawn? What should I do here? Should I defend it? Should I defend it like this? Should I defend it like this, like bishop d3? What should I do? Should I push it? And maybe you end up saying, okay, it makes sense to push it because it threatens the knight. And you may do the main move, but it will take you, I don't know, seconds, minutes. And of course, when you know stuff, you can play immediately and you don't lose time. That's important in practical chess, of course. And it has more or less the same importance as endgame theory, right? We're all familiar with endgame theory as well. Tools. This is board editor. Let me just put an example to be clear. So do you know who wins here in this position? If it's white to play, let's say. This is nice. I love to do an opening theory stream and start talking about endgames. This is how I approach chess. Does anyone know who wins here and how? White always. That's the best answer. Yeah, if you know theory, if you know endgame, isn't it written there on the right? Yeah, you're right. We have the database here. Okay, let's hide the database. Regardless who moves, that's why I said that was the best answer, because this position is always a win. It doesn't matter if it's white's turn or black's turn. So if you know endgame theory, basic endgame theory are the most basic endgames, like for example king and pawn versus king. King versus king is not is useless, but the most basic one should be, let's say, king and pawn versus king. And if you study those positions, those are the most basic endgames, you know them. You know them exactly like Antonio Miralles. The moment I do the question, he knows the answer. He doesn't have to calculate. He doesn't have to see that, okay, you move to one side, you do this, you do that, you do that, and he's forced out so you can promote. And if it's not our turn, which should probably go back to the editor. Uh-oh, I don't know what I clicked. Clear board. Yeah, if it's not our turn, if it's black's turn, black has to move to one side, then we go to the other side and we promote. So it's a very basic technique, but people know this when you study endgame theory. Theory means you study it before you play. So when you're over the board, you just know it. You just know it and you do it immediately. You don't need to calculate. Of course, this is the easiest one. We know this is a draw. We know this is winning. Some other positions like this might require some precision. For example, this is winning for white if white moves, and it's a draw if black moves, right? This is a not so obvious one, but okay, let's actually do a more interesting one. Now let's do this, and this. Opposition at distance. Yeah, in this case, I'm not going to use the opposition at distance. I'm going to use the concept of key squares. Anyway, let's go to the analysis board. I think the goal is to reach the key squares with the king. Exactly, Karmar. So Karmar knows endgame theory. And here, the only way to win is to put the king in front of the pawn, which to a newbie is probably counterintuitive because you're blocking your own pawn. But of course, Karmar knows the theory that when you have a pawn that is not on the 5th rank, that is here back, I wouldn't say I know it completely, yeah. You have these 3 squares. If you reach one of those with the king, you know you're winning. And we need to go after this square here, because if we go after the other 2, black's king is in time to stop us. So that's when you know that, and that's theory. That's something you know because you studied before, you know it, you apply it on an endgame. So if you go here, black has no time, we're gonna help our pawn promoting, and yeah, of course we're gonna use opposition. If black tries to stop us, we're gonna use the principle of opposition to push black's king to a side. That's also endgame theory. If we go here, this is a draw, as we know, because of the opposition, because of we're not reaching any of the key squares. So, okay, this is just an example, but we could talk about endgame theory in rook versus pawn, rook and pawn versus rook, all those simple endgames. So theory is something you study and then you apply. In openings, it happens the same. Let's go back to openings because, yeah, this is what we were going to do. But there's a main difference for me between endgame theory and opening theory. But very big difference. Endgames are simplifying. So you have an endgame, it simplifies to another endgame simpler. So studying the simpler endgames gives you better results. I mean, gives you good knowledge about things that will happen in your games. Openings, on the other hand, if you're in this position, you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 moves in the database out of 20 legal moves. That's a lot of options. But even if you go for main lines, at some points you have, or let's say here, at some points you have big options, big choices here. Like for example, bishop b4 is almost as played as knight f6. So if you are willing to play knight c3 against the French, you know how to face both of these main lines. And each of them, it has a lot of options. So opening theory is infinite. Just to go one step further, you need to study a lot. To know an opening is to know what to do after the opening is over. Yeah, we're gonna get there. So the good thing about endgames is that you're gonna get them over the board. I mean, if you study king and pawn versus king, I'm pretty sure you're gonna get it in a lot of games, or you're gonna get positions that can simplify to it. But if you study openings, most of the things you're gonna study, you're not gonna get them over the board, because there's a lot of options in the opening, a lot of possibilities, and every decision belongs to both players, or well, half of the decisions are yours, half of the decisions are by your opponent. So unless you know your opponent and what openings your opponent plays, it's very hard to really get what you want over the board. So studying opening theory in that sense is a lot of effort for a little result. That's one of the reasons why I don't recommend studying openings, studying opening theory a lot to people under 2000 rating, FIDE rating. I think it's much more important to know principles, to know opening principles. And what do we mean by opening principles? We can also get there. So I don't know, I'm being a little bit chaotic, so I'm gonna try and follow your questions. Karmar is asking, do you know many of the variations by heart? Pepe, I know some, but for example, I can tell you how I approached the opening study on my own. But of course, every person is different, and I'm not saying my way to approach it is good or bad. Well, I like studying openings, that has to be said, because I think the important thing in chess, you have a lot of ways to improve your chess. Tactics, studying endgames, analyzing, playing guess the move, watching commentaries, studying openings. you can practice a lot of things, different things, and you can improve your game playing games, playing bullet, playing slower time controls. As long as you have fun, as long as you like it, I think everything is positive. And it happens that I like studying openings. I don't like it, like it's not the thing I like the most, but I like it. So I've been studying some openings. But I try to take the tournaments I play as opportunities to learn openings. It's like I know Karmar, you're a software developer, so you will understand that when you have a new project or maybe a side project, you sometimes take that opportunity to learn a new language, to learn a new framework, to learn something new for you. That way it motivates you even more. Well, I do that with tournaments. I use some tournaments when I have time before the tournament to prepare. I take them as opportunities to learn a new opening for me, especially if I can prepare against a specific opponent. That's great because I think it's very, very rich when you play someone that, for example, it happened to me. I played this guy, he plays the French defense, and he's much stronger than me. Perfect, I'm gonna play a main line against him because that way I'm gonna learn a lot. So I prepared a lot, I played him, and that's my current approach. But of course, when I was a beginner, I was like too afraid of everything, and I tend to have the other approach, the approach of I'm gonna play minor lines, very rare lines, so that I cannot, I will not enter in their knowledge. But truth is, if you play a main line, your opponent probably knows more than you, but playing a minor line is like giving up already your position. Is like going for something that is not good on purpose. That's not good. To me, it happens a lot. All those variations confuse me after some time. Well, if you're gonna study a lot of openings, first of all, we have to do a very important differentiation here. There are openings that are more tactical than others. So, okay, I think I can put the big board probably on this. Yeah, this way. I have the problem that I simply cannot remember all the lines. Yeah, those are common problems, and memory is sometimes required. So I would differentiate a lot between E4 and D4 openings. I think that's a very important difference. E4 is more tactical in general. It's logic. Both moves grab the center, right? One of the opening principles is to grab the center, to have a space as possible, because space makes our life easier. So grabbing the center. Now, big difference is this pawn on D4 is already defended. E4 is not defended. That makes that gives black the option to start counterattacking tactically very fast in the opening. Hey, Bicryptorcosis, thanks for the follow. Yeah, when you play the pawn to E4, it's already undefended. That means that moves like knight F6 or D5, you know, the Alekhine or the Scandinavian defense, they already put pressure to it. But those are not even main moves. But for example, moves like E6 or C6, planning on D5, are openings that very fast put pressure on that pawn. So it can be very, very tactical, very fast. Also after E5, both pawns are undefended, so it gets very tactical as well. And also the bishops very fast attacking the weak pawns F2 and F7. So those openings with E4 and E4, E5, those are too tactical because targets appear on the board very fast. These undefended pawns, these weak pawns, can be targeted very soon, so play is very concrete. While openings with d4, for example, if we try to do the same as we did on the other side of the board, like attack this pawn, it makes no sense. Like knight c6, okay, you're not attacking the pawn because it's already defended. Or e5, okay, I mean, I'll take it, right? It's not like d5. It's not like the Scandinavian. Well, this is the England, right? So to me, that's a very important difference, because if you're not going to study a lot of lines, it's probably better to go for a more solid option where at any point of the opening, you will see in the database there are plenty of different options. Ones are more popular than others, but still, it's not like you can lose immediately if you don't play the precise move, which could happen in e4 openings, in tactical openings. Okay, so if you don't want to study a lot of lines, I would recommend to go for a more solid openings, opening like d4, knight f3, c4, g3, basically anything but e4. If you go for e4, you need to know how to play against the Scandinavian, against the Aliégean, against the French, against e5, against the Pirch, the Modern, the Caro-Kann, the Sicilian. Oof, complicated. Even the Nimzowitsch defense is not easy to face. And all of those openings are very tactical and concrete and have different lines. So yeah, it's very hard to play them if you don't study a little. Because the play is tactical, sometimes moves are not entirely intuitive. Like, how to say this? If you play d4 and you are out of theory, let's say after some moves, let's say people here take here, he takes d, of course, and let's put bishop g5, which is the main move, and now let's say your opponent, instead of bishop e7, which is the normal, plays something rare like bishop e6, for example. And you could be like, oh, I'm out of theory because I knew this one line and we're out of it, so my opponent didn't play bishop e7. Well, so what? I mean, it's not a tactical position. The only thing we have is a ping, and it's not a big deal because this is pretty much defended. So we probably keep up with normal plans, like just keep in development. In solid openings like this one, even if you're out of theory, moves are natural and you're not in high risk of getting killed in general. That doesn't happen with e4. If e4, let's say they play the French and you know, oh yeah, I know how to play this. I play knight c3 here, my opponent played knight f6 and I push e5, and this is the classical French. And they go like, no, I'm gonna go for the winnower, and you say, what is this? Okay, if you're gonna play knight c3, you need to know the winnower. But you might, let's say you don't know this, and you get this over the board. Does anyone know this variation? We can take any opening and do the same exercise. Yeah, I guess everyone knows it. Anyway, I've seen it, but I wouldn't say I know it. Okay, all right. That's good. The thing is, what I want to say is, if you play a tactical opening, if you start with e4, and you're out of theory at some point, let's say you are out of theory here, you need to start thinking tactically because things get tactical very soon. Like here, for example, you cannot do any move. It's not that you can do any move here. Not any move works anymore, because your opponent is basically threatening to take on e4 after this ping. So for example, you could say, oh, but what is my opponent doing? He doesn't want to take my knight. How is he going to give up the bishop? So I can play a3, right? Maybe not. You lose a pawn there. So you need to be careful. So what do? Do you defend it? Do you defend it with the queen? Do you defend it with f3, as T-Dark is saying? Do you push it? Do you take on d5? If you know the main line, you know it's e5. And of course, against the French, it makes a lot of sense to play e5. It's not the only move, but the point is you need to start solving problems very fast and very concrete problems about losing pawns. Or, yeah, f3 is bad, yeah, of course. f3 after, yeah, that's how that line goes, T-Darky. That's, is it? No, I think it's not. I think it's not. I think f3 is not the move here. I think it's queen g4, but I don't know because I don't play this, obviously. I think it's queen g4 the line. Anyway, of course here e5 is the move, but this is where, when you are out of theory, and that will happen either when you study a lot of theory but your opponent plays something you didn't see before, which happens a lot, or when you don't study theory, and that happens a lot too. When you don't study theory, you're out of theory very soon. So for that is when it's important to know about opening principles and how to apply them. So let's talk a little about opening principles before looking at specific lines. It's probably a bad choice by me to go for the win-aware in this type of session. Let's talk about opening principles. Who can tell me any opening principles that you know? Go for the center, yeah. Develop pieces, develop. Don't move the same piece twice, I like that one. Play h4, rar. No, play h4 is a bad one. Don't move a developed piece twice. Don't create holes. I like that. So, the thing with chess is it's too complicated, but at the same time it's too simple, which sometimes it drives me crazy. The same principles apply always, really. The same strategical ideas. Only make beautiful blunders. Yeah. Make moves with meaning. I like that one. Trees news, or Tries news, or something like that. Trees news. Thanks for the follow. Castle before it's too late. Yeah, okay. Both there are two people who said things that are related to a very important strategical principle, which, according to Nigel Short, is the most important, which is king safety. King safety is very important in chess, especially in the opening and in the middle game. Sometimes also in the endgame. King safety is very important. And some said castle before it's too late, and some others said don't create holes. For example, a move like f3. This is a typical thing you want to avoid in the opening, to create holes to attack your king. Development may compensate material disadvantage. Yeah, only multi-purpose moves. Multi-purpose moves are the best. Yes, Reti said there is also a better move than castling. Attack the queen if moved early. Okay. We came up with some good principles there. But yeah, they all have to do with some strategical ideas, some strategical ideas that apply all throughout the game, not just in the opening. Like, for example, king safety is one of them. I always mention material. Material is important. If you give up something in the opening, you need to have compensation for it. The other day we did a strategic session, thinking session, and I insisted a lot in my vision of strategy as not the seek for perfection, but the seek for making our life easier and our opponent's life tougher. That's for me what strategy is. So we use all these strategical elements to that goal. For example, king safety, we want our king safer, our opponent's king more exposed, because that makes our life easier. Controlling the center in the opening is a principle that has to do. Hey, thanks Kaisa Corp for the follow. Controlling the center has a lot to do with another strategical element that is very important. I think it's one of the most important strategical elements. It's space. Space is very important. Move the knight before the bishop. Interesting. Surprise your opponent like Tony Miles did with Carbon A6, yeah. Space is very important. For example, in the French, we were seeing lines like this. And in this position, white has a space, right? In chess, there are things that go together, and space goes together with attacking. Because when you have a space and you have pieces, you have many good options to coordinate your pieces. You have more space, you have more squares. You can create good coordination and attack. Conversely, black has less space, a lot of pieces. Pieces are hitting each other. Like this knight is blocking this bishop and this knight. This is terrible. The queen can barely move. It's hard to coordinate or move the pieces when you lack space. So space is a very important strategical factor. Well, in the opening, you control the center because you want to grab space, basically. If your opponent does not fight for the center, let's say your opponent does nothing for the center. It's hard to do nothing for the center. Let's do b6, h6. No, let's do g6, double flanked. c4, here. Let's go rar. I mean, let's go control the center very much. Knight here. Knight's hard to develop without moving the center pawns, right? Because e5 will come. So let's say d6 here. Okay, this is a terrible idea by black. When you have the center, you have the chance to grab space very fast, because white here can grab space with e5, can grab space with d5, can even grab space and start an attack with f5. So a lot of options to end up with more space than your opponent. So typically you don't get this. It's very unusual to have a very so kind opponent. Typically they both fight for the center. But yeah, it's important to fight for the center, because if you don't do it, your opponent grabs the center and will end up on space. That is the rar variation, yeah, the 4 pawns variation. So yeah, we put pawns in the center because we want to grab space, to fight for it at least. Don't move the same piece twice. I think that's an important rule. Don't move the same piece twice. Because if you move the same piece twice, you end up undeveloped. How do we count development? We count the pieces that are out, right? Let's say, for example, let's say, how do we show an example? You lose time when you do, exactly. You lose time when you do, exactly. When you do move the same piece twice, you lose time. Let's say white is very creative, and white says, okay, this knight here, everyone knows what the knight is doing there. let's do this. Let's put it here because I've been told that knight f5 is a good move. So let's do this. And your opponent goes like, okay, let's develop. And you go like, ooh, perfect, because I wanted to move here, so I defend the pawn. Well, white of course lost tempi with this, right? We moved the same piece twice. So I'm assuming d5 has to be a good move already for black, grabbing center, space, and eventually maybe gaining development, because I don't know what white is going to do about this guy. If we defend it like this, black has a space, and we still need to move another piece twice. If we take, this is a decision for black. Black can, probably the queen takes is not a good move. This is moving the same piece twice. Black can play gambit style to gain development. I don't know, it's interesting, but yeah, this is very suspicious, right? When you move the same piece twice, you give your opponent the chance to just normal move bishop here, and black is clearly up in development, right? Two pieces developed, one piece developed. It's incredible that we're white in this position, while black is gonna castle before we do. Also, number of controlled squares per move versus number of square opponent controls. Okay, so in chess you don't get everything you want. So all these strategical elements, like, for example, material, space, pawn structure, and or weaknesses, king safety, initiative, I would say initiative also, as a strategical element. When you have the initiative, you keep doing threats, your opponent keeps doing defensive moves, then it's like you decide what the play is about. So it's like in soccer having the possession of the ball, right? You're not winning immediately, but you decide to attack here, to attack there. That's initiative in chess, and I think that's a strategical factor as well. So in the openings, I like to see the opening as a negotiation, as a series of decisions and trade-offs where black will end up with some strategical advantages and disadvantages, and white the converse ones. Good evening, Chips. So any opening you take, any, let's say, equal opening, like both players playing decent and normal, you can understand from a strategical point of view. Let's say, let's take one line, I don't know, a concrete one. The Aliakhine, for example. E4, knight f6. This is, oh, c22 low. Thanks for the follow. Van Kruij's opening, which one is that? Concrete line, Musio Gambit. Yeah, we could do that. We could do that. I wanted to show an early one, like from move one already having an opening defined like this. If you never saw this opening, you might be struggling to understand the main line, which goes e5, knight e5, d4, d6. There are several options now. Let's say c4, knight b6, and for example f4. There's one principle we didn't say, I think no one mentioned it, which is, well, you mentioned develop your pieces, right? Well, thanks for the follow. So we mentioned developing pieces. Okay, if you're gonna develop pieces, then you shouldn't push a lot of pawns, right? Because if you move a pawn, you're not moving a piece. So exactly, Karmar. We have several questions here. This is an opening that the first time you see it is like, okay, both sides are totally breaking the rules here, because black has moved a knight 3 times, and white has used the 5 moves they had to push pawns. No piece development. So this is very concrete opening, and it all happens for a reason. The reason to push this pawn here was a concrete tactical reason. Is we don't want to lose the pawn, and we want to get something out of the opening. So we want to punish black's last move by forcing the knight to move again. So both sides are breaking the rules. We're pushing the pawn again, but only because we're not gonna be underdeveloped for that reason, because we're forcing black to move the piece also. And black has a good reason to move the piece. Black doesn't want to lose the piece. So what white gets for these pawn pushes is space, clearly space. White has a space, but white didn't develop any pieces. Black moved a piece twice, but still black has a piece developed and white doesn't. But of course, black has no control at all. So what you're pointing out in the chat is totally correct. White is controlling the center, black wants to attack the center later. When you don't have a space, what should you do? No space, give up. Exchange, I like that. Yeah, when we said the good thing, trade pawns, come to the center, chain, okay. Yeah, you can, when you don't have a space, the problem you have is your pieces collide with each other. So you have basically two options. Either go for trading pieces, because not having a space is a problem when you have too many pieces, but it's not when you don't have pieces. When you don't have pieces, you have no problem for having no space. And if the opponent has a space but has no pieces to attack, then the space is useless. So when you don't have space, you want to trade pieces. But what you say about trading pawns or attacking the center is also right. That's the other plan. You can try to fight back for the space. You can try to not give the space forever. And that's what black does in the next move here, d6. Black is trying to break white's center so that white loses his space advantage. So we can understand this move. It's also a developing move. c4, grabbing more space and forcing the knight to move again. And yeah, white ends up with a lot of space, but black is ready to break it up a little, just a little. And yeah, this is a sharp opening. We can qualify this as a sharp opening, because very soon both sides have an unbalanced position. One side has space, the other doesn't. That's already an imbalance. It's very different from the likes of e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5, where everything starts being symmetrical very soon. And this is not sharp, this is just normal, right? I don't know where to go now. I think we've skipped some things I wanted to say about openings. Well, we didn't talk about the names of the openings. There is this principle of not advancing pawns too much. That's in the spirit of the Alekhine. Yeah, of course, when you choose to play the Alekhine as black, you're not considering it about try. So you have an idea. The idea is to force white to push the pawns. So So later, if we survive, we're gonna have a decent endgame. But yeah, there's a lot of, maybe that's too deep. There's a lot of different ideas from here. So I wouldn't. No, let's just say it's not a bad defense, and you're not giving up the space for free. You're giving it for a future counterplay. Hey Quartillo, what's up? Maybe something about gambits. Maybe something about gambits. Okay. So here we see in the Alekhine we see a trade-off between space and what black has is maybe in return this king's safety. This king is slightly more exposed, maybe, but black is playing for the long term here. It's not an obvious immediate advantage, strategical advantage for black. Maybe we can say there are some targets. Maybe that's also, hey Dirigiano, thanks for the follow. Maybe that's what black gets in this opening, and what white gets is obviously space. Hey Joanna, you're here. So what happens with gambits? In gambits, what you try to do is to gain an advantage in either development or initiative, and probably in both of them. That's what you try to get by sacrificing usually a pawn, sometimes even more than that. So tell me in the chat, what gambits do you know? While I explain this thing, I wanted to explain about the names of the openings. So if we go back to the database, if we go back to the initial position, Staunton Gambit, wow, which one is that? Queen's Gambit, King's Gambit, yeah, Queen's Gambit, King's Gambit, yeah. Come on, there are more gambits. So initial position in the database, Evans Gambit, I like that one. We see e4 is the most popular move. Let's take c5 is the most popular move in response. There's e5, e6, c6, etc., etc. There's a lot of options, but because we're still in the first move, they are all very well known. So every of them has a name. Every of them has a name. Some are played since a long time ago. So they have names. Many of them have like geographical names, like the Spanish, the Italian, the Sicilian. Is this one, the Sicilian, right? Hey, thanks for the follow, Commander Breivik. Blunder Gambit. Johan Cruyff Gambit. What? Danish Gambit. I like that one. Marshall Gambit. Yes. The Falk Beer. Yeah. Does anyone know the Budapest Gambit? Okay. Does anyone know, now that we're with the Sicilian, does anyone know a gambit in the Sicilian? I know at least two gambits from this position we have on the board. The Buddy Gambit? Smith Morra, exactly. And the wing, exactly, it chips. It chips got both of them. Budapest, exactly. How about the Benko Gambit or Volga? There's a lot of gambits out there. Let's start with which one I know. Both I've seen you play. Yeah, for example, the Queen's Gambit is this, b4, where black can take a pawn for free. That's the gambit. d4, where black can take the pawn, and then we don't take it. We play like c3, like in the Danish Gambit, but with c5. The Danish Gambit, of course, is this one, and then you play c3, right? You must know Benko well from your Benoni. Yeah, named after Pal Benko. So yeah, some openings have geographical names, like the Budapest Gambit. Some other are named after people, like the Yurusov's Gambit, named after Yurusov, and Benko Gambit, after Pal Benko. The Budapest What's Ursov's? I play that a lot. You know it, Chips. Trump Gambit? What? And in the Budapest, there's this variation 94 called the Faharovich. I'm not entirely sure, but I think Faharovich was also a person. Give up the government. Trump Gambit. Nice. Anyway, let's take one gambit. For example, the King's Gambit. One of the most funny. And let's try to understand it. Okay, because we played the King's pawns to the center, we have a very tactical opening, right? Because those are undefended pawns, and also because the kings are more exposed through the weak points f7 and f2, which of course are the most undefended pawns in the initial position. I guess you know that. These pawns are only defended by the kings. That's why a lot of tricks, opening tricks and opening traps happen on those squares. So e4, e5, we have a tactical opening. f4, that's the King's Gambit. Called after Mr. King. No, I'm kidding. Called because it's the king side, and we do a gambit. We all know the Queen's Gambit, which is played a lot in master level. The King's Gambit not so much, because the King's Gambit, what's the trade-off here? What does white get and what does white lose here? Queen's Gambit not entirely a gambit? Well, it is a gambit, especially if you play the Catalan. White loses king safety, exactly, Karmar. White loses king safety. No, we already talked about it. This is not something you usually want to do in the opening. Wins a space. Yes. Especially if black accepts the gambit, which you should, white will have more control of the center, more space, then more chances to attack. On the other hand, white's king is weaker, so it also gives blacks chances to attack, which is fine because the games are funny from this point. Okay, but you usually don't play d4 immediately because there's this queen h4 check here, so the main line goes knight f3, right? And then after black moves something, white will play d4 and try to attack this pawn. So from this point on, there are several lines. You need to accept a gambit to prove it is wrong. Yeah. But it's hard to know. If you don't study opening theory, how do you know if a gambit is good or bad? That's tough. That's tough. If you don't study at all, you need to work it out over the board, and that's the hard part. If you study before, then I strongly suggest to look at the database. For example, in this position, f4, after f4, you can see in the database almost 3,000 games between masters, between stronger people. They took on f4. The next move, d5, which is also very playable, it's only played 700 times. So it's master approved. The move takes on f4. So if I was to prepare, yeah, d5 is a counter gambit, T Darky. Can't believe so many games in King's Gambit. Yeah, but this was very popular, the King's Gambit, in the last century. So many games are going to be from, from old times. How is it called? I think it's the Falkbeer. No, it's... we can see it here. Yeah, it's the Falkbeer. Here on Lichess, you can, when you're exploring in the database, you can see the name of the opening. Oh, I'm not showing it, I think. Let me show the full window just to be sure. You have it here. C31 King's Gambit declined, Falkbeer counter gambit. Falkbeer, beer, like in beer. Beer, exactly. A gambit says beer. Okay, I approve of beer. Falk beer, exactly. Yaqui. So where am I? I was in here. So if you're gonna study this opening and you say, oh, should I take or not? You watch the database and you see, oh, strong people take the pawn, so the pawn has to be taken if you're going to play the main line. But of course, you need to understand what are you doing. I think it's much more important to understand that than to remember anything, because at some point you're going to be out of theory and you need to understand what's going on. And in a game, even if you play by memory the opening, you need to understand what's going on to realize what you should be doing after that. For example, if you want space, you should be attacking after that. You cannot just start trading pieces and be overextended. Those sort of strategical thinking has to connect between opening and middle game. Falkbeer, Austrian player. Thanks for that, Mr. Sabon. Are you going to play some tourneys? Maybe. Winnower, suddenly Winnower. Yeah, sorry, my bad, I clicked somewhere. Yeah, so even if you see in the database that this is the best move, the masters play it, and so you need to understand that you're giving white space and maybe development, but conversely, white is giving you chances to attack. So there's a very funny line, knight f3, g5, where black defends the pawn immediately, and main line now goes h4, but there's this funny line that I play a lot, d4, bishop g7, or is with d6? I think it's with d6. Oh no, it's with knight c6. I think it's prior to that here. Yeah, instead of g5, knight c6. There we go. d4, g5. No game found. Maybe we can transpose. Maybe I'm in a wrong move order. Ah, because I played from the bishop c4 line. Yeah, my bad. I usually play it from here. But it's the same basically. g5, c3, d4, d4, bishop g7, c3, d6, castles. No, it's g4 first. Here. This funny line with castles, pawn takes, and c3. And what I like about this line, it's just one line, just one King's Gambit line, is how much material white sacrifices, like this, and still very, very, very playable and very risky for black. So this shows more or less the essence of the King's Gambit, that both kings are exposed, but white has more activity. And yeah, still castling, yeah. And I think this is still equal, I'm not sure, but it's very complicated. Maybe even e5 first. Ah, this king is in terrible shape. But yeah, those are some lines, just crazy lines. I think it's very tough to talk about openings. Instead of creating activity for the pieces you no longer have, yeah, you still have more pieces. The bishop on c1, the rook on f4, the queen. Yeah, you still have pieces, and knight c3, knight e5, they come very fast towards the king in the king's gambit. So it's a very risky opening for both sides, which makes it funny. But for example, if you play e5 with black against e4, you need to know what to do against f4, right? You did a good job talking about openings. It is very interesting. Oh, thank you, Karmar. I think I lost it a little in the last half an hour. How is e4, e5, and d4 called? This is the Danish gambit. Center game. It's called center game. But yeah, the Danish gambit is after taking on d4, center game accepted. And then if you play c3, it's a Danish gambit. Of course, you can still play knight f3 and try to transpose to the Scotch. Center game, Kieseritzky variation. And if black plays knight c6, then we're in the Scotch game. So yeah, of course you don't have to remember everything. And you don't have to study everything. I always insist in this to my students. Under 2000, you don't need to study openings at all. But it's important that you understand the principles, or at least that you understand the same understanding that you have throughout the rest of the game. You should have it in the opening, and you should be able to connect what you're negotiating in the opening, like, okay, I'm gonna have the bishop pair, but you're gonna have a better structure, things like that, to connect that with the rest of the game. For example, let's take the typical opening where you trade bishop for knight. Let's say, for example, the Winower. We talked already about the Winower. Yeah. So this is the main line. We can maybe explain it. Yeah, the names also. Okay, let's go try and explain every move. e4, undefended pawn. So black wants to play d5 to put pressure, but d5 immediately. The Scandi, we don't like it because tempo against the queen. So we prepare it with e6. White keeps grabbing space, why not? Then d5. Attacks the pawn again. So knight defense. Bishop pings the knight, attacking the pawn again. Okay, the pawn grabs space, and black says, okay, you have an advanced structure, let's go attack it from the base. Everything correct. And now white says, okay, if you don't want to lose this pawn, you're gonna have to take my knight. So that's the main line. Bishop takes, pawn takes. And still a lot of lines from here, a lot of options for both sides, but here we see a very unbalanced position where some trade-offs have been made. And if you are gonna play this position, I'm not saying you need to have it prepared from home, although it's recommendable because this is very tactical and sharp. But if you don't have it prepared, at least you need to understand what strategical factors are here. Yeah, queen g4 is one of the main ideas hierarchy, but it's black's turn, so it depends a little. The Scandi, we don't like it. Here's Sphinx screaming. I'm a Scandi player, so I was trying to do the narrative here as a French defense player, but I'm a Scandi player, so yeah. Anyway, what strategical concessions or trade-offs have been made here for both sides? This is very unbalanced. Basically, white has some advantages and black has some other very different advantages. Who can name them? Spanish chess players should not play French. I agree with that. No one should play French. Oh, you play real openings instead of the French? Good, I like it. Bishop pair, exactly. Bishop pair for white, that's one of them. Why is bishop pair an strategical advantage? We have the bishop pair and black doesn't, because black took on c3. Why would the bishop pair be an advantage? White has the bishop pair and queenside space? That's what you mean? Black has a better pawn structure. Yeah. The bishop pair is stronger than love, Pepe Cuenca. Okay, yeah, then that says it all. Yeah, that's the reason. White has a semi-open file. I don't agree with that. I mean, yes, it has it, but the c-line is about to be open as well. The bishops help each other because they control one square, and black have a good center, I think. Lol. Also, bishops can mate, knights can't. Okay, that's maybe too deep. Bishop pair is stronger in endgames and open positions. Yeah, bishop pair is definitely stronger in open positions and endgames, as pointed out by Karmar, because they control both color complexes on the board. Now, Long HS, thanks for the follow. Knights can't, yeah, knights can't checkmate on their own, but of course, that's not the point here. It has nothing to do with the position thinking about that. Many lines seems to be unclear in this opening, but I guess Stockfish has figured it out. With the help of the king, it can. No, with the help of the king, two knights cannot checkmate the other king. Two knights cannot checkmate. Bishop pair is stronger in endgames. I learned this from a very young master. Yeah, bishop pair gives you, if we look at the bishop that black has, and especially the one that black doesn't have, which is this. Black has the light square bishop, black doesn't have the dark square bishop. So that means that this bishop on c1 is going to be uncontested by black. So all weaknesses in dark squares in black's position, and look at this structure on light squares. There's a lot of dark square weaknesses that we can potentially exploit in the future with this bishop. For example, moves like a4, bishop a3 makes a lot of sense, since this diagonal here is going to be very weak. Unfortunately, g7 is not easy to attack with this bishop because we have a pawn on e5. So it's not going to be a target for this bishop, not easily. But on the other hand, this diagonal here, that could be annoying. Anyway, the thing is, the bishop pair helps us control more squares, especially in open positions, because in closed positions, well, bishop, there's always one bishop that's not good. Also the French bishop, this bishop is terrible, it's hitting its own pawns. That's also an advantage for white. Space is an advantage for white. Someone said the open line, but it's true that black will have an open line on the C file, a semi-open line, that is probably stronger than that, because b7 is very well defended. Black must have some pluses, or no one would play this line. Yeah, black has some pluses, but they're not too obvious. I think the most obvious one is the pawn structure that someone already mentioned. Because b takes c3 happened, white is going to have a terrible pawn structure for the rest of the game in the queen side. B takes c3 not only doubles pawns here, but also isolates this a3 pawn. So these pawns are all going to be weak in the future. Black closer to castling? Yeah, also that. But it's not an easy castle to do, it chips. Because after knight e7, queen g4, the main move is castling, yes it is, but it's a move that you need to have prepared. There's a lot of games where white won very, very fast from this position. I mean, castling is a good move, but it gets very tactical very fast. I think bishop d3 is the main move, yes it is, but there's a lot of ideas with bishop h6 and h4, h5. It takes some guts to castle there. Queen c7 is better. Yeah, queen c7 is what most people play in this position. I'm assuming in the database castle still the main move because it was played a lot in the past. Just let white take the g pawn. That's actually a line. That's a line. The c takes d4 is the poison pawn line, or probably not poisoned, but it is a line. The sacrifice of this pawn, rook g8, queen takes h7. I played this line once. Yeah, I played this line once. Queen c7. Look at what I said about this line being weak. Much more important than this open line here. 92 defending so that black cannot take with the queen on c3. Then there's the takes line and the knight bc6. I think takes is normal. Then queen returns to d3, I think. First f4 to defend this. Then knight bc6 and queen d3, if I remember correctly, yes. And this is very sharp. I won one game here against a 2200 in a classical chess game, but this is very sharp. As you can tell, it's not the easiest opening to understand because white's king is interestingly safer in the center than anywhere else. So yeah, it gets so sharp. It gets so sharp for both sides. Hey Armitsiev. I think I can probably, instead of I can probably go through an example. I think if I show one game and we explain the ideas there, might be easier to discuss some ideas about the opening strategy and opening principles than talking randomly about everything. Trouble Fan asks, is a sharp position just a position where it's hard to play correctly? Yeah, in part. Yeah, a sharp position is when everything is so unbalanced. Here white has the bishop pair, black doesn't. White has a space, but black has this pawn here. Like the pawn structure is very asymmetrical. White is a pawn up, but yeah, sharp is when both sides have different assets, I would say that. And position is complex, very complex. But the bishop pair is completely undeveloped. Yeah, actually in that game I remember that was a problem I had, but I finally developed them. Black has some initiative here in return for these tempo losses of the queen taking on g7, taking on h7, going back to d3. Black has fast development, but black is going to play bishop d7 castle and play with all the pieces from that point on. Knight f5, d4 is a move, especially after castles. I have quit playing certain openings because they're just too difficult for me, like the King C Indian defense. Yeah, I mean, sharp openings, I would recommend them if you like crazy positions and you like to calculate a lot, then I can recommend them. But other than that, don't go for them. For example, in the French, if you don't want to play the winnower, you can avoid it. If you play e4, if you're an e4 player, your opponent plays e6, you play d4, which is a good move, they play d5, you can go for the Tarrasch, knight d2. Yeah, exactly, a gambit. You go for the Tarrasch, and you get the same positions as in the regular French if they go for the classical, or the takes here, or even if you take on d5. But you totally avoid the bishop b4 line. So you could try that. I mean, there's always ways to avoid any opening, because openings happen because both players decide to play them. Some lines, I mean. because the Sigbet Tarash, yeah. The opening that happens over the board is a decision by both players. They should take on e4 because it's the line that transposes to the Thunderburning variant of the French. And you want to play the Thunderburn just for the name. Just play Ruy Lopez every game. Okay, if you play e4, I already said this, but I want to insist. You need to know that you're gonna face very different openings. You cannot say, I'm gonna play the Ruy Lopez every game, because your opponent plays e5, you cannot play the Ruy Lopez. Your opponent plays e6, you cannot. Which reminds me of this anecdote by Yasser Seirawan, who said that he met this person who was learning chess, and this person knew one line, the Ruy Lopez. So this person knew that after knight f3, she would go bishop b5, then after a6, Yasser Seirawan. Don't you know Yasser? So this person knew bishop a4, and after b5, bishop b3. And she knew this was the main line, or one main line. So she knew this. e4, knight f3, bishop b5, bishop after a6, bishop a4, after b5, bishop b3. So then she played a game against someone. And after e4, her opponent played c5, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. Knight f3, I'm gonna go bishop b5, after a6, I'm gonna go bishop a4, after b5, I'm gonna go bishop b3. And then her opponent played c4, and she was like, hey man, I'm playing the Ruy Lopez, what are you doing? So I use this example in my classes to show that you need to take into account what your opponent is doing. You cannot just play like automatic. So if you know the Ruy Lopez, it's okay, but if your opponent plays c5, you just cannot play the Ruy Lopez. However, if you play a solid line like d4, chances are that you can play a system like the London system and still. I told that anecdote yesterday. Okay. Chances are that you can repeat the system against most setups. So yeah, in more solid openings, you can go for London system, Collie, all those systems, Tory attack. Same goes for b3 and the Hungarian, yeah. g3, you can play g3, bishop g2, knight f3, d3 or d4 and castle. Some systems you can that are very safe. 61 viewers, whoa. How's that? How did that happen? Maybe it's because of the title, then they would be disappointed when they enter. Okay. What do you think of the Dresden opening? I don't know it. What is the Dresden opening? Dresden? Wrong country. I get it now. You should play the fried liver against the Sicilian. Yeah. The fried liver against the Sicilian. There's no way that's possible. So you would play this, and now how to make the fried liver work? Because you need to go knight g5 and bishop c4 and then take on f7. Maybe black can find a way to make it work. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and then c4. Aha, that's the Dresden then. Okay, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and then c4. To be honest, Dresden opening, I've never played this, I've never seen this. But the database says bishop c5, which is normal. And black is very, the database is very very happy with the black pieces now. It looks horrible, right? What's wrong about c4? Someone say something. Which principles are we breaking here? Holes. One of them is holes, yeah. And I see another problem. Look at this bishop on f1. Now it's a very sad bishop. Very sad bishop. Yeah. I mean, I assume it's not entirely horrible, but it gives black, I think, comfortable ideas. It's a non-developing move. Yeah, exactly. C4 is that's a good way to put it. It's a non-developing move. We're grabbing space. That's true. We're controlling the d5 square a lot, and that's going to be for us that square. But it's a non-developing move because we're actually undeveloping or not helping the development of our pieces. And d-pawn forever backwards too. Well, not forever, but because black doesn't have c5, so at some point we might break on d4. It's not like forever backwards, but yeah, pawns can move backwards. So this hole is never gonna be controlled by a pawn anymore. So yeah, that's a concern. If bishop c5, maybe knight takes e5. Okay, let's follow the line. Let's see what's going on here. Knight takes e5 is not a move suggested by the database. I'm assuming bishop f2 in that case. Knight takes e5 is not in the database. Oh no, it actually doesn't work. Look at this, bishop b4 check. Yeah. No, knight takes e5 is not a move. Yeah, I don't like this c4. From this point, the main moves, the ones I've played a lot, are the three of them: the Italian, the Ruy Lopez, and the Scotch. Bishop c4, bishop b5, and d4. And give me a second. The Scotch Gambit, yeah, the Scotch Gambit. Why play anything other than Ruy Lopez if you're serious in that position? Don't forget the delayed pawn cloud. What I don't understand is that in the Sicilian, I've been told that black plays knight d6 to force knight c3, blocking the c-pawn and preventing c4, but playing c4 doesn't quite good look, does it? Well, c4 in the Sicilian makes sense sometimes. For example, against the dragon. Yeah. I'm not an expert in the Sicilian, so I might do this wrong. How do you play the dragon? You play first knight c6, or is this the accelerated dragon? D6 first, let's say. I want to find the line where the Maroczy bind is good. But yeah, the Sicilian is very sharp opening. So it's not obvious to understand why c4 might be good in some in some positions. But of course, after you trade the d-pawn, and that's important, after you trade the d-pawn, then in the future you're gonna play c4, and that's called the Maroczy bind, when you have the pawns on e4 and c4, and you're basically preventing black's dream of breaking on d5. That's why c4 is a good move in some lines of the Sicilian. I've seen it, I think it's considered to be the Maroczy very good against the dragon for some reason. Of course you are giving up the d4 square, but it's important to give it up after you trade your d-pawn. Otherwise, as someone pointed out, this pawn is going to be backwards like forever. But yeah, after you trade, it's not... You get this structure in some moral decline as well. I like that for white. Hey OJ, how you doing? Okay, I think what I'm going to do... c4 is better here because black's dark square bishop has no play, I think. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a drink, I need it. And then I'm going to show, sorry, I'm going to show one game, and we can discuss the opening ideas in that game. You will drink scotch. So give me just a second and I'll be right back. Okay. How can he be a GM rated 1870? What? Who are you talking about? Ah, Maroczy. Okay, good joke. Okay, I'm going to show a game that I'm probably gonna find somewhere, and I want us to try to understand the opening and the strategy of the opening. What is a strategy? Catalan opening, no singing please, chess is okay, alright, I'll try not to sing. Where do I have this game? I've seen it the other day. Oh my, where is it? Why no singing? Worm Dasher, thanks for the follow. What is the strategy? Is this? Oh yeah, it's here. Pepe is not Pavarotti. That's a good point. That's a good point. Let's hide the database. And I think I'm showing the game now. Yes. There's so many openings to be learned. You have to go on instinct. Yeah, but instinct, what is instinct? I think instinct comes from experience. So you get patterns in your mind, you are under certain circumstances, you have certain problems, and your instincts say you have to do something to solve that problem because you experienced that problem a lot of times before. Chess sometimes is not so obvious. I think it's never obvious. So instinct comes from experience, I think. So the more you play, the more intuitive you're gonna be. The less intuition you have, the more you have to think in a specific position to understand it and to solve it. That's what makes it harder especially for beginners, but that's what makes you improve, to think about the positions. This is a game that involves thinking. So we're going to go through this game as if we have no opening theory knowledge at all right? So I want you, especially those of you in the chat that doesn't know a lot of theory or very few, to participate and and try not to have opening theory exactly. And let's try to understand the principles and the strategy that goes on during this game. And so imagine we're playing black here. Our opponent plays one e4. What do we do? Haha. OJ, you're right, because you're watching the moves in the right side, right? Yeah, Gambit is wrong, OJ is right. If you stick to principles we talked about first, you should be fine. That's what we're going to try and do. I almost always play c5, says Folglorious. Biancia says, prevent white from establishing center. Get pawn in the center, e5. I would play c5. I play hyper-accelerated dragon. I would play e5, e5, c5. e4, he wants to play Spanish, so c5 she can't. Fuck beer, do you drink fuck beer? Yeah, I'm drinking oh no, I'm drinking fizzy water. Let me pour it in the glass so it's not so obvious that it's not water. e5. Been playing c6 a lot. Okay. Just copy his moves, you're always equal. Okay, of course, at this position, it's a matter of taste. Like, you probably have your repertoire, even if you don't know openings at all, you probably have a move here of your own like, of your own taste. I can tell you I never play c5. I never play c5, but in this game I did. This is a game by me. It's the first time I play c5 in an over-the-board game, I think. But of course, some of you play c5 usually, as you say. Some others play e5, c6, everything. It's of course a matter of taste in the first moves. Until you're out of theory, at least, it's a matter of taste or a matter of what you studied, or even a matter of what you prepared against this specific opponent. You wanted to surprise your opponent? Yes, Karmar. Actually, sorry. I can tell you something about the strategy in this game, because I used this game the other day for a class on strategy. There's a lot of strategy that doesn't have to do with objective evaluation of the positions, and has to do with psychology or time management of the clock, I mean. And in this game was particularly interesting in that aspect, because it's the first time. Yeah, Pirch is d6, that's true. Dr. Sang, thanks for the follow. It's the first time I play Sicilian over the board with the black pieces. Snellestan, thanks for the follow. Of course, I know some ideas on the Sicilian because I play e4 with white, so I played a lot of Sicilian games in the white side. But I've never played it before in an over-the-board game. This opponent, I didn't prepare him. I didn't know in advance who I was playing against, and I didn't know him when I started playing him. So my strategy was to play something new for me, because that way I'm also sure he's not preparing me. So in a way, you're right, Karmar. I wanted to surprise him, but mostly I wanted to play something new, basically. Anyway, hey Gambit, thanks for the follow. My opponent also risky as not opening, you know so well. Yes and no, it chips. It's not that I wanted him out of book, because I'm sure he's an e4 player. I'm sure he has ways to play against the Sicilian, at least out of my book. I mean, I got him out of any preparation he could have against me, although I wasn't scared. I'm usually not scared about preparations, because the lines I tend to play, I mean, I don't mind if they enter them, because I play them. It was just I wanted I just wanted a game, so to speak, a game of chess, no theory. So in a way, from this point, you and I are are more or less equal because I was out of book very fast also. So it's a good game to try to understand the moves because I started thinking about them very early in the opening. I had that position over the board game as well. Okay, Fulglorious has a good idea. Play d5, after e takes d5, queen takes d5, there's no knight c3. And Waste Monsters is pointing out the two main lines here, d5 and knight f6. So the first thing to understand is c3. What's going on with c3? Of course I know c3 because I played that with white. But let's assume we don't know this. Let's assume we're out of theory. What is what white wants in this position? Why did white play c3? Biancia points it out very well. The guy wants to play d4. White wants the center. White wants a strong center with d4. What was he trying to do with c3? d4 next, exactly. And after c takes d4, then white gets a big center. Exactly. The only reason, I think it's the only reason to play c3 is to follow up with d4, and after we take, he takes back with a pawn, and he has the perfect center, right? To get d4 in despite your c5, gain center, exactly. You're all right. I think it's more or less easy to understand that oh, queen c2, okay. What if you follow up with b4? Okay, then I would laugh at my opponent. No, I mean, what do you mean? Like white following up with b4? Knight c6 will give another attacker on d4. What if two knight f6 like Ali Ehin? Okay, so let's assume we're out of theory. We understand white's idea. White wants to have the center. We can do two things there. Basically, when you're out of book, the way to think is what is good about our opponent's move, and what is good is d4, and what is bad about it. And what is bad is black moved another pawn, so black is not developing, and black is blocking this knight from developing. Those are the good and the bad things, I think, about c3. And I think we should try to develop our own pieces thinking about that. So someone points out knight f6, someone points out d5, Waste Monsters pointed out both of them. Those are the main lines. They attack e4 and there's no knight c3, so both make sense. Someone said knight c6 adds an attacker to d4. That's true. The problem is white has even more pieces controlling that square. So after d4 takes, white really got what he wanted. I actually have a game with this, with the white side on this. I have a miniature from this year when I crushed my opponent after knight c6 because white gets the big center after knight c6, as you can see here. e6 also seems possible. Yeah, some people play e6 or g6 or even d6, and the thing is, in both of them, white gets the big center. Oh yeah, that's true, Candela. That's true. That was against your teammate. That game was against your team. Let's not show that one. A lot of people on Lichess play knight c6 and it's really not recommended. Yeah. I do play g6 to cut down on statting because the ideas are the same as in the accelerated dragon which I play. Yeah, but of course you can play like that. It's survival is optional. I mean, you can also play the French, but I'm just trying to play. I'm just trying to come up with the strongest moves here. What is the difference between e6 and d6? Not a lot. really. They're both developing moves, and they probably fit with each other. Probably after e6 you're going to play d6, and after d6 you're going to play e6. It's very likely that you play both of them. It's already in your timeline on Twitch. Aha. The game? I probably share it, yes. Because during last chess league I analyzed the games on the stream. Yeah. Couldn't beat the Petrov over the board today. Feels bad. Oh, Pluku. Feels bad. So anyway, in this game, let's keep moving on. I only consider d5 and knight f6 because I know they are the main lines, so knowledge comes first. And still, I took my time to decide between both of them, trying to remember the lines that go after that. If you don't know theory and you find yourself in this position, well, I guess you have to calculate. If you have two good options, you need to calculate a little and see how the game will proceed. In this case, d5, obviously, white has to do something. a6 also decent move. Yeah, but we're not going to consider giving up the center. Craft Soaring, thanks for the follow. I mean, we're not going to consider moves that allow to have e4 and d4. We're going to consider moves that either either trades in the center like d5 or forces the e5 d4 pawn to push, which are the two main lines. But even if you don't know theory, if you see that the good thing about c3 is d4 and the bad thing is there's no knight c3, all makes sense. It makes sense to use moves that attack e4 basically. But a6, d4, cd4, and then d5 is playable. Yeah, it's playable. I'm not saying that, I mean, everything is playable, of course. Everything is playable. So, I was just trying to show why the main moves are the main moves. Why they make sense. Uzdaf, thanks for the follow. Why the main moves make sense, but of course there are a lot of other options. Anyway, here in this position, I knew the main moves because I played against them a lot of times, and if any, I prefer to play a main line. Even if I'm not familiar with the line, I prefer to play a main line as long as it's not a crazy line. Just take it and you get a better version of the d5 line. Take what? In which line are you saying, with monsters? Where white has already committed to a6 or g6, then knight c6, e6, etc. are more useful. When black has committed, I think you mean. Of course, main lines are good. I played 20 moves of Dragon Yugoslav theory once. Yeah, okay. Anyway, let's continue through the game. I played knight f6 because I felt it was easier to understand than d5. Although d5, I've played the white side of this many times. But it gives white several options, while knight f6 seemed more straightforward, maybe. Of course, this is one main line where there's no knight c3, so it makes sense. Black not only regains control of the center, but it's also fighting with an active queen against the idea of d4, and still the main line is d4, where I love to play the white side of this with the isolated pawn, but okay, that's one option I didn't go for. and the other main line, the one I played, is knight f6. And as you pointed out, you can play d6, you can play e6, you can play a6, you can play g6. You can pretty much play every move. But in general, when you are out of theory, you want to understand what's going on, and you don't want to give your opponent a lot of chances or a lot of play. So I always try to find what's good and bad in my opponent's moves and try to fight against that. Because even though some other moves are playable, as Pluku is saying, knight f6 and d5 are principled. Critical moves are the ones that challenge the e4 square. Yeah, exactly. So Louis the Child, okay, what a nickname. So yeah, knight f6 and d5 are the principle, but of course there are other moves that are playable. The problem is if you already give your opponent what the opponent wants, okay, you still have a game, but you gave space and you don't have anything in return yet. So it's like a strategical concession. I don't want to do just that. I always try to fight in the opening so that if my opponent gets something, I get something in return. So knight f6, we get to an interesting moment because white doesn't want to play d3 and defend the pawn with d3, right? Because white wanted to play d4. So white doesn't want to defend the pawn. d3 doesn't make sense. Knight c3 is not possible. So this is pretty much forcing the push. And this is like the Alihin, where white had to push the pawn twice, black had to move the knight twice. And what we achieve in this opening is that white is not going to have d4 e4, but he's going to have d4 e5, which is strategically different in the way that he was committed to advancing. So white will have a space. We're going to have a contact point to try to undermine the center. And that should affect our strategy from there on, how the game will proceed from there on. So let's move forward for a second, because the next move is logical, developing move, another developing move, and finally d4. I'm not sure if any player would consider here not to take on d4, because it's like any Sicilian player takes on d4 here, right? I don't even know what any other move can be. Maybe e6 is the only other move that makes sense, because after d takes c5, the knight would be hanging on d5. Could you please explore the ins and outs of the King's Indian defense? Oof da. Maybe later. It's actually the structure you want as white, but it lacks flexibility, so more committal. Yeah, it's committal. The moment you push a pawn, it's committal. And committal means you cannot go backwards, and not a big ask. You cannot go backwards. So you're already taking a strong decision on how the game is going to go. And something that strong players like a lot, and I think that's why, thanks for the follow, Loken, that's why I prefer to have pawns on e4 and d4 than on e5 and d4. One thing that strong players like a lot is flexibility, the ability to implement different plans. But the moment you're committed to push the pawn to e5, you're committed to a narrower variety of plans, and all involving having the space advantage, so pretty much all involving attacking on the king side. The light squares become weaker Whoa, Relo, thanks for the subscription, man. Rayo, thanks for the subscription. Let me remind you, if you don't know, you have access to this perk that you can redeem anytime. Thank you, I appreciate it very much. And of course you have the water emote as well. Yeah. So yeah, black with this maneuver of the knight, more or less like in the Alec King style, makes white commit to this advanced pawn structure. And after c takes d4, c takes d4, it's fantastic. I don't think we can play e6 here. Can white not play c4 followed by d5 there? Yeah, maybe you're right, Full Glorious. Maybe you're right. Yeah, c4 seems annoying. Yeah. Yeah, that seems terrible for black. So yeah, pretty much we're forced to take on d4, right? Which is what we were going to do anyway. So we come to this position. Is cd forced? Thinking bishop c4. Ah, as white you say, here. Yeah, of course it's not forced. And you can play gambit style like bishop c4. And that's an important point now that we're talking about openings. Because I think this kind of move is usually neglected by beginners. Like, why would you do this? But it has, I think it has a lot of sense. I'm not sure if it's a good move, but this is the kind of gambit style that you should be aware of when you play either side. Play e6 here so you can get triple pawns. You're not gonna get triple pawns because then he's gonna take on d4. But yeah, e6 is a move. Knight b6 might be a move. But yeah, bishop c4 makes sense. It does. So it's actually a very tricky move because after knight b6, for example, we might think about things like this. Do you know any Kashubians? I don't know, maybe you? This is an interesting position, huh? So bishop c4, very, very interesting move. I agree with that. I'm going to try bishop c4. Yeah, actually this is very similar to what happened in the game. Just one move later. Kashubian, thanks for the follow. So whenever you're short on space, and I'm short on space as black, you need to be careful with white, for example, suddenly getting a lot of development and some tricks. For example, here on f7, if we go like knight b6, I don't know what is this about bishop takes f7, but it might be good. It might be good for white. How do we play here? King g8. King g8, because after queen f3 we have knight takes e5. After queen b3 we block somehow. I tried pawn cloud against Stockfish and Hellas. Pawn takes maybe. Who's able to assess this position, huh? This is interesting because I don't know what would I play here as black. I probably would play e6 to prevent the problems. Black is better there, probably. You probably don't have to sack, of course not. Of course here you can just play the bishop somewhere. But yeah, the idea of bishop c4 is you get development, and even though black can be a pawn up in this position, white has a lot of development, and that makes bishop c4 a very good move. The typical move that we might not see. I don't think the sack is solid, but would be great in fast games. Yeah, and we're gonna get here because in the next move I analyzed that sacrifice. Because in the game after c takes d4, I played the main line because I knew this line, d6, which is obvious because we're developing. We want to take on e5. In the future, we want to pin the knight to put pressure on d4. So d6 is a very logical move, right? And now my opponent played here he played bishop c4. So we get to a similar position than the one we were watching. But here I worked out the tactics, so I know what's going on here. I have to say that in the game, when I played d6, I was still in theory. And after bishop c4, I'm out of theory. So I didn't know this bishop c4 move. So I had to work this out over the board. Probably if you don't study openings, you need to work positions out in the opening very, very soon. And if you play an opening like the Sicilian, that can be sharp, or the French, or stuff like that, you end up in positions like this, where your opponent has a space, has some initiative and threats, and you need to be precise on what you do. Here, can you play bishop e6? I don't like it. Bishop e6, I'm concerned about knight g5 ideas, maybe even immediately. It's so sharp and complicated, because for example there are some knight e3 ideas as well. This is too complicated. Knight takes. What's going on here? Queen check. Bishop d2. No, knight e3 doesn't seem to work unless this works. It shouldn't. No, it doesn't. So knight e3 doesn't work. If knight e3 doesn't work, then knight g5 is annoying, right? I mean, not that we're losing material, but we're gonna have, sorry, got distracted there. We're gonna have some issues, right? Bishop pair, structure, so it's annoying. So here, basically, I had a choice between 2 or 3 moves. The obvious, by far the obvious move, I think it's knight b6, the one anyone would think of in the first place, because knight b6 solves the problem of our knight attacked and it wins a tempo. So that was the obvious move, knight b6. But then there's the alternative, not to move the knight. Then someone pointed out bishop e6, that doesn't feel right. The other logical move to defend it is e6, I think. e6 is very logical. Blocks the diagonal also, and it tricks on f7. And d takes e5, someone pointed out d takes e5, queen would be defending the knight, yeah. But yeah, that's not a move I want to do in general. Okay, Fulglorious would play e6. The problem with d takes e5 is it opens up our position a little more, and we're still behind in development. We're far from castling, so it's risky. It's risky to open the position. Why, you know, while we have, while white has the space and a lead in development. I put the knight on b6, but you have to calculate that f7 stuff. Yeah, OJ, that's the key in this position. And I would play knight b6 also, but I did calculate a little the f7 stuff. So in the game, I took a very practical decision that I'm proud of, although according to the engine it's a wrong one, but I'm proud of it because it was about strategy and time management. I thought knight b6 was the move to go. Then I realized I think in the database is the first move. Let me look at the database. Knight b6 is by far the first move, you see? By far, 2,000 games. The next option is e6 with 581 games, which is not bad. And then d takes e5. So knight b6 seemed logical. But when I thought about it, knight b6, I said, oh, wait, isn't there a trick on f7 here? So there's this principle that tactics should serve strategy, right? Tactics to the service of strategy. So my strategy is I want to keep developing my pieces, hitting the bishop like this to win tempi, then complete my development, but I need to calculate what happens after bishop f7. So I did a short calculation here. Bishop f7, king takes f7, and here I realized that knight g5 is not good. But there was this little sneaky move, e6 check. I think I don't have the score sheet here, but I think I took like 5 minutes to calculate this stuff. And the moment I realized e6 was in the position, I got really scared of this move. Because now if the king goes back, the ideas of knight g5, knight f7 are really strong. And you can take the pawn and then go king d7. Yeah, I thought the main approach here would be to take it with the king and then go to d7. Because bishop takes seemed also suspicious, because after knight g5 I have to go king f6 only move. And it's not the position I want to play, even though I'm a piece up. So I thought I had to take here. And this is where I stopped calculating. This is where I stopped calculating. Because I thought basically what Malimikan is saying, this is bad. Yes, residual, d5 is a move. It's not the best move according to the engine, but it's a move. The thing is, from a strategical point of view, I don't want to allow this to my opponent, even though it's good for me. And it is. This is advantage for black. But, oh, thanks, Malimikan. This bishop f7 line seems a lot to work out in the opening. Yeah, anyway, after I wanted to play knight b6, but I had to calculate what happens. And I went to this point, after king takes e6. So I had a choice. I had the feeling that this was good for black. I had that feeling. I could be wrong or not. Now I know I was right. This is good for black. But white has some compensation. White has a lot of compensation, and humans can't play like engines, exactly. So my choice here was either I keep calculating this line, because this is really risky line, so I need to calculate it more and work it out better to play it, or I just go for a different option. And I'm proud of this, because I would usually take 20 more minutes to calculate whether this is good or bad. And that's how I would lose on time, because I would calculate more what happens after d5, knight takes d5, knight g5 check, king here, queen takes d5. I would calculate more from here, and I would say, oh, my king is safe, I'm up on material, my king goes to c7. And then after 20 minutes of calculation from this position, I would play knight b6, and my opponent would play, like, I don't know, castles, and I would have lost just 20 minutes. So this is also about time management. You need to take decisions, and practical decisions, on when to stop calculating. So I didn't like bishop f7, so I played e6. And castles is really bad. Why? Sorry. Just to point out. Sorry, my bad. Bishop, yeah, the bishop is hanging. Sorry, my bad. Yeah. Okay. Then he would play, yeah, let's say bishop b3 or bishop d3. Yeah. Sorry, my bad. What I mean is, he would play anything different than bishop takes f7, and I would be like, okay, now I'm 20 minutes down in my clock, and nothing I calculated will happen on the board. Yeah, or bishop b5. Bishop b5 seems strange, but okay, it's a move also. I guess a6 makes sense, and then the bishop probably has to go to d3. Yeah, it seems strange, because it seems like it gives black this free a6 tempo, but still a move. Yeah, it has a threat, so black must respond. I'm spending time like Christina. Today I had 20 minutes for 20 moves again. Yeah, so I was proud of first of all seeing the problems, and then, because I'm out of theory, I don't want to rely on my intuition in this position where, okay, I might end up material up, but with a terrible king, terrible development. I have to be accurate for the rest of the game, even though I assess properly the position and I assess I have the advantage. It's going to be hard for the rest of the game, right? Hey, Joanna. So, so I took the practical approach. I don't regret it. I'm proud of myself, even though it's a bad move. I mean, it's not a bad move. It's the second most played move. But what I saw, it's actually not good for white. If we look at the database, bishop takes f7 happened in 13 games with good score for black. The main move is bishop b5 and bishop b3 with a lot of games. Bishop b5, 1,600 games. Sorry. So this is how opening theory goes versus practical openings. When you play and you're out of theory, you look at human ideas that the engines or the master play will not tell you about, like this bishop f7 line. It's in the database, but it's a very, 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 very minor line, so it's not like a good move. It's actually a bad move according to the engine, but in a practical play, it's something to be scared of. So I prevented it, and it was nice because later in the game, I managed to use my clock for for important decisions, more important decisions. Hey Joanna, are you there? Are you listening? Are you still streaming and or playing? Because I feel this opening session is about to end. I'm already tired about openings. Maybe he knew this bishop c4 line, and playing the second line means you're probably out of his book. He didn't know it. We talked about that later, and he didn't even think about bishop f7. Oh, that's a good challenge command we have there. Please, can I make following observation? If you would have played knight b6 immediately, then he thinks you know the lines and how to handle bishop f7. Yeah, he didn't think about bishop f7. That was just my tactical smell taking place over the board. And anyway, I think it's not a good idea in general, unless you're playing blitz or bullet. I think it's not a good idea to gamble over the board. When you're playing an opening that you don't know, you really want to take your time and see what the problem might be in a move like this, knight b6. I saw bishop f7 could be a problem. I spent 5 minutes calculating. I didn't like it. I went for another idea. And I think that's how you should do, especially over the board, because this type of committal decisions, like allowing a tactical idea, I like to say that strategy is about commodity, about being comfortable, about comfort. Yeah, it's about making our life easy, making our opponent's life tough, while tactics is about perfection. It's about accuracy. It's about finding the good move. So if I allow a tactical theme here, I need to work it out. I need to calculate and be sure that I'm not losing on the spot. Because I wouldn't be comfortable if this is not winning for me. I wouldn't be comfortable with my king on e6, right? Commodity is Spain English. Yeah, Spanglish. So from a positional point of view, I'm not comfortable here. I need to work this tactically to assess properly if this is good or bad for me. Thanks for the follow, Rayo. So you subscribed and now you follow. Thank you. I need to change that command. So from a strategical point of view, I played e6 because I didn't want to spend more time in a decision so early in the game. And I gotta tell you, that's how strong players play. Not that I am a strong player, but I learned this from strong players. Strong players do this a lot, to play practical in the opening and not spend a lot of time in lines that might not be played. Need me some pie. Thanks for the follow. Go on Lichess and challenge people there. Yeah, I think I'm going to stop with this opening session and start having some chill, some relax, some, I'm having fun, but it's so boring openings. Pepe, not people. I was talking to chat. Okay, Pluku. Yeah, let's challenge me. Okay, my opponent castle. Let's go through some moves while I don't get challenges. My opponent castled, and what did I do here? I know any strong replies to e4 besides the Sicilian. It wasn't boring. Oh, thanks, Karmar. No, but it's getting me bored. I've seen this game a lot of times also. No, I'm kidding. I've seen this game on Friday for the first time after the day I played it. e5, d5, e6. What? Sicilian or riot? Well, I kept developing bishop e7, and now a quick strategy question for you. What is wrong about my opponent's next move? He took on d5. He should maintain pressure and also develop. Good point. It chips. Why is that? He gave up bishop pair. Exactly. That's another good point. OJ says the same. He lost bishop pair. He opened your light bishop for you. That's also a good point. Giving up bishop for knight and trading pieces when he has more space. Exactly, Fulgorius. So all of those 4 answers together create the perfect answer. Yeah, the what each chip says he should maintain pressure and also developed goes very well along with having space advantage. When you have a space advantage, you want to start an attack, and to start an attack you need to keep putting pressure and developing pieces, not trading pieces. Also gives up the bishop pair for no reason, and also develops my bishop, so he's also solving my problems. I have a development problem here, he's solving it. So that was a terrible move from a strategical point of view. From a tactical point of view, the engine will change the evaluation, but not a lot. Yeah, another another decision, e takes d6, that is very, very bad. And what is wrong about e takes d6? What did white have that white doesn't have anymore after this move? Yeah, Pluku, what is this guy doing? Queen gets developed. Yeah, queen gets developed. I think that's not the main point. I think Pluku has the main point, and Mr. Sabon as well. Space. He plays c3 to get the center, then ruins it. Yeah. What white had from the opening was the space advantage. After pawn takes d6, white doesn't have the space advantage anymore. So after queen takes d6, well, I'm pointing out with some arrows there, but after queen takes d6, let's put no arrows, it's pretty clear that white has no advantage whatsoever. If any, black has the advantage, because pawn structure is now symmetrical. Thanks for the follow, AC Toffee. And black also has the bishop pair, and yeah, we still one move behind in development. We still need to castle, but yeah, white has equalized and it's even better now with the bishop pair. So I'm just gonna stop here the game, because opening is more or less finished here after two strategical blunders by my opponent, where white gave what he had got from the opening. So I think that's one important idea I'm insisting a lot in, is you get something out of the opening, your opponent gets something. You need to bear that in mind for the rest of the game, and you cannot give it away. Like, you have the space, you need to use it. You don't give it up because, okay, if you get the space, why would you give it up? You have to have a reason for that. Sometimes you trade one advantage for another, but here he's giving up first the bishop pair and then the space for no reason. So yeah, they are forcing moves, but I assumed he had an idea that maybe he only considered bishop takes and he had an idea to get activity with rook e1, but it doesn't even make sense. Anyway, I think it was too many times already talking about openings. I thought it was useful in any way for anyone, and still I want to play some chess or something. Maybe I can. Okay, Bianci is challenging, which is good. I think. Give me a. Okay, I'm gonna take Bianci's challenge. Oh, it's rated. Okay, I'm gonna take Bianci's challenge while I look at something here. Game aborted. Nice. It was also useful. Thanks, Raveling. Thanks, Malik Ilan. Thanks, Candela. Opening talk was good. Oh, okay, thank you guys. Okay, I'm gonna take your challenge, Biancia, while I try to negotiate what to do after this, because I think Cheskuro and Joanna are doing hand and brain without me, and I'm too jealous. I'm not sure if they're still listening. Okay, let's play this line, Biancia. Give me a second, I need to open this. Thanks for playing this line, Biancia. I could never tell the difference between D6 and E6. Turns out they're quite similar. Okay, I think they're not listening to me, so I'll send them a message or something. Okay. Okay, thank you guys. Thanks, Mr. Sabon. I'm really tempted to take there for the structure, you know. Here, I have the space. Biancia is trying to fight against it, so I guess if I want to keep it, I'm gonna have to take with the pawn, then probably have a very ruined pawn structure, but okay, it is what it is. Or I can do this also. Yeah, here, takes. Let's do this, let's keep it simple. It's not the most aggressive. How does he do those arrows? You use the right button on only chess. You click or you click and drag, and with the shift and alt keys you can do red, yellow, blue, or green. Okay, I didn't want to trade queens, so I think I'm gonna play gambit style here, because if I want to grab space with pawn takes, then I have the problem he trades queens, which is bad. If I have space, I want to attack and keep the queens. So I'm gonna play gambit style. I'm gonna castle. And can you repeat about colors of arrows, please? With alt key, with shift key, with alt and shift key. Ah, yeah, alt and shift in my case, because I have a Mac. Maybe it's different in other system, or maybe not. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna take that. So I have a pawn down and an isolated pawn. This doesn't look like opening theory. No, it's not. Sorry, guys. Okay, sorry. So I have an active position, but down material. Probably now I'm really not liking the bishop on e2. I wanted it on d3, but I'm not sure if I need to spend this move now, or can I do something else? There's the idea of d5 because he's gonna put pressure on my pawn. Let's do. This is a strange move. Can I give it? I think I can do this way. Yeah, so from here I'm defending it, and I'm emptying the square for defending it with the rook, which is probably better. And now d5 will make more sense in some lines, like now, and then bishop f4 ideas. What else? Okay. I have the space, I have some piece play, but and look at this. But I need to find a good way here. Okay, well, I guess I'll start to play fast and not good. Let's go bishop e2. Let's try to create. Oh, thanks, Biancia. Thanks. No, it's +5. I probably don't need the time. Probably. And let's pin the knight. Then knight takes d4. I take the queen. He takes the bishop. Oof, da. So this way, takes, here, takes. Okay, let's do this. I'm not sure if I calculated right. Yeah, okay, Biancia didn't go for that. So I guess I'll move my queen somewhere. Hitting weaknesses, always a good idea. Although I'm probably not interested in taking them. Or do I? Take there? No. Yeah, now my rooks are strangely placed, my rooks, huh? So I want the rook back here. I probably want this here. It's like we're maneuvering in an open position. It's very strange. It's very strange. I can do this or not? No. Okay, guys, I think it's time to grab some space. You're sharing a lot of links there, like 3. I think I'm gonna do this. Just grabbing more space. It's not the kind of decision I would make probably in a classical chess game, like trading pieces. Why would I? But in a blitz game, sometimes when you're under a minute, you need to simplify the position a little and try to play for 2 results, right? Okay, now I want to attack, so let's keep the queens. And wait, can I just do this and win a piece? No, it's not winning a piece, but it's the trade I wanted. It is the trade I wanted. Oh, this is probably a bad one. Bishop there. Okay, now my bishop cannot attack there. There's no d5 anymore. So either I try, but trying is the first step to failure, especially in that case where I would not be able, or I find a better diagonal for the bishop. Rook d3 was interesting. Yeah, now that I see it, to bishop a3 and incorporate the rook to the attack. But okay, I guess we'll do something different here. Let's keep the queen alive somewhere while he keep pushing pawns. probably that bishop on e7 is a good piece to remove from the board. So now I'm trading pieces because I want to remove defenders, and I feel that after f5 the king is slightly exposed to eventual attack, but I'm losing all of my material here. Well, not all of them, but not all of it. Let's make some Luft, which is slightly stupid. In this case, slightly stupid. He cannot take the pawn, I think. I can take this, but yeah, it gets messy. This position gets messy. Oh, okay. That's actually probably a blunder by me. Maybe I can go for the draw. Or wait, am I winning? I mean, if g5. g5 is the move to consider here. And for a second, I thought I could make a draw, but now I'm not sure if maybe I could even win. Piancia says after g5 is a draw, I think, but I'm not sure if I'm even winning. Okay, and now I really need to do something, because there are strong threats coming. Yeah, this is not good. Not good at all, guys. This is completely losing for me. Completely losing. I'm gonna try, but you know what they say about trying. I have no resign button. But I can be checkmated, right? GG Biancia. Good game. I don't know what happened with my... Give me a second. You were too distracted. Yeah, I was distracted. Actually, I think I don't know what to do, because what I want to do after this, and I'm waiting for people to do it, I probably need to restart the stream so it doesn't keep this title. So I'm gonna do that now. Let's restart the stream. I'm gonna put a generic title like Chill Only Chess or something, and restart the stream. Because I know I can just change the title with this command, and I'm gonna do it, but still I'm gonna restart it so that we get two videos, two different videos for the two parts. So let's call it, do you read messages? I saw you wrote Mali Milkang, but I'm streaming now. I will answer later, sorry. Let's say just fun. I do read them, all of them. I will answer you, I promise. Title, fun, only chess. Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna be restarting the stream now. So you're gonna be watching me. Hey, Sakran, thanks for the follow. You're gonna watch the stream go down and up like in a second.